Yeah, we can start.
We can start now. Okay. Okay. Hi. Good evening, everybody. It gives me great joy and pleasure to welcome you all to this next episode of our series of Conversations That Count. I am Dr. Neetika Batra. I work in Soil as Dean and Finance Professor. I have a background of almost more than 30 years, equally into investment banking and academics. I have great joy and great honor to welcome our guest today, Mr. Shanta Raju. He is, as you all know, he has more than 4 decades of experience in senior positions across different industries, and recently as CEO of Indus Towers. So he has, welcome, Shanta. This is a
Thank
great
you.
honor.
Thank you. My pleasure to all of you.
Thank you. We also have 4 bright students from our Soil Institute of Management: Kushagra Bansal, Kajori Burman, Kanika Garg, and Karanjit Singh. So, as we all know, the theme of today's session is the art and science of decision making. What I truly believe is that the quality of our life depends to a big extent on the quality of choices that we make, the quality of decisions that we take, So it's really very, very important to understand the whole framework of how decisions are taken. And especially for business leaders and people who are being groomed in the science of management and area of leadership, it's very important to understand this entire art of decision making. Now, of course, there are a lot of scientific models, a lot of analytical models, which are going around to help us take the right decisions based on logic, based on data, based on facts and figures. But then they also say that along with the left brain, it's the right brain which works a lot, in helping us make the right choices. And there are subconscious biases that we have. There is this whole mindset, the personality that we carry, our ability to take risks, our ability to learn from our past mistakes, and take better decisions in future. So all these things, of course, impact the way we take our decisions. And so today we are going to explore a bit more on that. The students have gone through a course on self-leadership with our founder and chairman, Mr. Anil Sachdev. And this session today is to explore and reinforce that learning through a senior leader like Mr. Shanta Raju, to understand how decisions are actually taken in real life and how we can learn better on that area. Shanta's life journey is a big inspiration for all of us, as I was discussing with him. It's a story of, not just courage and conviction. It's also a story of how a very strong value system can be a backbone to a great decision making and to a great life. So, despite having a lot of challenges, he took a choice to make the best of his life and the best of his journey, whether it is in the corporate and the professional world, or it is in personal life, with his relationships with people, and the way he gives back to the society, through his compassion and kindness, not just to his employees and to people who work with him, but also through the NGO that he currently runs, where he's helping a lot of underprivileged people to make a career in education into engineering and medicine. So thank you again for joining us here today. And I would now invite the students to talk a little bit about what they have learned in the course, and what is it that is there on their minds, which kind of is the highlight of this area for them. So let me first invite Kanika Garg to share her insights.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, from the whole course of cell leadership, the point that struck me the most was this decision theory that we learned in the art of decision making session. For centuries now, philosophers have tried to understand how we make decisions, and by extension, what makes any decision sound or unsound, rational or irrational. So, after a lot of deliberation, they converged it into a theory called decision theory, which says that our sound decisions flow from our own values. When faced with a situation like should we major in science or commerce, we first need to ask ourselves what we value the most in our life. And then, as a second step, we should seek to maximize that value. From this perspective, a decision essentially becomes a value maximizing situation for us. For example, if we are going out and can't decide whether to take an umbrella or not, we can come to a decision by following a formula that assigns weights to the probability of a rain and the pleasure we will feel if we have an umbrella or the displeasure we'll feel if we don't have it. I know most of the decisions are more complex than this in our life, but the decision theory says that there is a formula or rather a value maximizing equation for everything that we face in our life. Now, that is for sure that every decision, there are consequences and risks involved. But in the art of decision making, we teach ourselves to challenge our assumptions, to remove our biases, and assess our options in an unbiased and an effective manner. And that's what we have learned in our session. Thank you.
Thank you, Kanika. May I now ask Kushagra to share his some of his learnings with us?
Sure, ma'am. Thank you. So for me, probably one of the most complicated component to decision making is removing personal feelings. Being objective and making choices without overlaying your own personal feeling is difficult, but it's easier when you have the right kind of information to guide you. So there had been a certain circumstances in my life where I had to make a hard decision, be it a personal decision or career related. And having a right mentor by your side can always help one to make decision wisely, not based on intuition, but based on experience. And during my course on self-leadership, I learned that knowledge, knowing where you want to end up makes choosing the path to your destination a little clearer. And good decision making requires combining experience, knowledge, and a desire to reach a certain goal. Also, I'd like to add that the art of decision making requires asking some open-ended questions as to the impact of the choices. These what if questions open up thinking about the problems and the goals of the decision. So studying and analyzing before making a decision most of the times prove out to be an effective one, and we might land up in a better situation down the line. Thank you.
Thank you, Kushagra. May I now ask Kajori to share with us her insights?
Sure. Thank you so much, ma'am. So let me start this with a simple question. When we are faced with a situation where we have to make a decision, how do you typically proceed? Let me tell you, for most people in most circumstances, we simply decide at a particular moment based on our prior experiences, intuitions, advices from others, and moreover, for making most of the decisions, we either approach the problem from a holistic point of view in which we simply choose the best, or we break the decisions into components in order to better understand the problem we are faced with, or we just simply communicate with someone else for discussing why a particular course of action was chosen, because we believe that listening to others also can help us gain collective wisdom that can help us make the right decisions in our lives. So, in this case, I would say that self leadership and the art of decision making are interlinked in our daily lives, because this course is all about rationally and intentionally thinking, reflecting, acting, and growing personalities that in turn help us make the right decisions. So, here comes the 6 steps of the decision making process. First, we have to define the problem. Secondly, we have to establish the criteria. After that, we have to consider all the alternatives that are available to us. Then we have to identify the best alternative. And then we have to develop and implement a plan of action. And lastly, we have to evaluate and monitor the situation if it is necessary and whenever it is necessary. So, to make the right decisions, we should be assertive. We should have a clear thought and plan for achieving our predetermined goals and take actions accordingly so that we can be the best versions of ourselves in near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Kajori. Karan, maybe now listen to you.
Sure, ma'am. So, talking about the decision making, we tend to make our decisions which are most based upon our future. But decision makers must act in the present, which is why it's so important to know if we are making a good decision or not. When we are making it, and that is possible when we follow the appropriate framework for decision making to fulfill the requirements of the decision quality. So talking about the framework of decision making, the decision making should be based on appropriate frame. The frame of decision specifies a problem or opportunity at the hand. The framework decision making is further divided into three steps. First, our purpose. What is our purpose for making the decision? Why are we making this decision? Second, the scope. What will be included and excluded? The scope of decision is its decision matter is often limited by background decisions that are right or not, but are assumed to be unalterable. Third, our perspective, which means what we take as given, how we want to approach the problem, and with whom. Agreement on this frame is essential when two or more parties are involved. A problem may be framed broadly or narrowly. The broad frame may have a long time horizon, involve many stakeholders, and encompass many issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Karanji. So I think we clearly seem to have discussed a lot of decision frameworks and the whole biases that we talk about, etc., in our classes. It'll be nice to listen to now Shanta about his life journey and the kind of decisions he has taken, the way he has taken, what helped him take the right decisions. And I'm sure there were some hits and there were some misses as well, and what happened with those misses, and what they contributed to your life journey in that sense. And of course, you would have also, I'm sure, seen many other business leaders operate around you. And I was also reading at some place about the decision styles of different business leaders, ranging from authoritarian to a very, consensus driven methodology. And surprisingly, research shows that the most of the business leaders tend to navigate around the extremes rather than somewhere consultative median in between. And so the default style of a leader tends to hover around somewhere on the extreme side of an authoritarian or a complete consultative or the consensus driven, rather than taking somewhere a midway position where he needs to be assertive as well as take the buy-in of his team. So your views, Shanta, and your insights on this would really help all of us understand the domain better. Over to you. You're on mute, Shanta. If you can please unmute yourselves.
Thank you, Nitika. And thanks a lot to all the four students, that is Karan, Kanika, Kajari, and Kushagra. Actually, Kanika and Kush basically dealt with the softer side of the decision, how they get molded, whereas Kajari and Karan dealt with the framework. There's a process of making the decision. I think there's more on the science side, facts and data, all kind of stuff. I think also you touched upon authoritative way of making decisions, consensual, mid-path, okay, kind of stuff. I think all this depends upon the situations we are placed with it. Okay, ultimately, situation determines many things. And before I go and talk about a couple of things, I learned some important thing from one of my boss. And then that I started implementing. This is the story I have to say about the 1992 or 93, somewhere that season, that time frame. No, sorry, 1982, 83, that period. I had a boss, and I was in finance at that time. And sometime I'm carrying a file to him, take his signature. He's walking on the corridor, and I will tell him I'll hand over the files in your office. He said, no, bring it here. What is this file? What is it about it? Sometime simply will say approve. And sometime he say, this is, keep it in the office. And then sometime he doesn't call me at all for 1 or 2 days. Then he calls another 5 people. Long discussion. There are times stuck on the corridor he signs. There are times, he calls 5 people. One day I asked him, sir, how do you decide this spontaneous decision versus this painstaking, the process? Then he told me something very interesting. I must tell you that I applied it from that date onwards. He said, first thing, is it a small decision? Even if you err, will it create a very long-lasting impact on the company? It was a very small thing, made a mistake, nobody notices it, some small price, just decide. And he said, in his life, he find 70-80% of decisions are such. Just decide. Ultimately, you trust the person who brings a file to you. If you think that man is trustworthy, he has done a basic, all good quality thing, ask what it is, simply sign and send it out. Let not people wait for your decisions for the 80% of the decision. The second thing is that, is there a decision has got an impact on the entire company, far-reaching, costly decision, then better. Think through very seriously, call the people, and let's discuss the views of the others. For every view, there are very conflicting opinions from various parts. I think we have to make a decision. Third one, he said, the value of the decision may be small, but it is going to set the precedence. It is going to set a precedence. You have to be careful. The question is not the value of the decision. It may be 100 rupee decision, but it will set the precedence. That you have to be careful. There, you think through carefully. I think that's how he basically taught me. I must tell you, that has become my Bible. And I was a young boy and girl like you. And I was hardly 24, 25 at that time. I think that becomes, how do I say? That made my life very simple. Okay. Here are some trick I thought I must say. Authoritarian consensus, all those things we'll keep discussing a bit later.
Sure.
I think Anil had a chat with me, and Nikita has also told me. What I will do is that in this, a few examples I will give. We'll also talk about, we said heart and science. Also talk about heart. Heart also matters a lot in many decisions, which we forget knowingly, unknowingly, subconscious level. It makes a major impact. One of the leader's job is to ensure someone else is there to moderate your heart. That's also equally important. And another one is the important thing is that your own personal vision and the vision of the company and the purpose also matters a lot. Okay, there's more to deal with the heart and art. We'll talk about it. I think the very initial days for me is that I started as a young boy. I used to work at the age of 12 in the city market. I used to be everyday market. I get up at 4:30, go to the market, lift the luggage from the auction truck to the auction block, and earn that day about 1 rupee 75 paise, 2 rupees earn, and come home. And that used to be my daily routine. My mother had to make one major decision. Everybody used to tell my mother, why are you making your son to study? I will come back, then I go to school. Send him for working. He will earn enough so that your all misery will be over. And boys of my age, those days, even 12, 13, 14, they used to work. They used to be weaving section near my house. And most of the people used to be a weaver there. So my mother had to make a decision. I did not make any decision. My mother made a decision that crafted my life forever. She said, I will make my son BA. She did not know this BA, become BSc and all. She did not know anything of those things. She will get educated. The concept is that I should become a graduate. It is her decision decided my future. Now, how did she make a decision? Is this? Her own life story. She wanted to study. And village side, nobody bothered about their studies. And her father had a lot of land and other things. He said, no, come, just take care of the house and other things, finished. And poor lady could not study. It's her personal life story ensured that she wanted her son to be educated. That's why I got educated. This is a different story that many people helped me in my life. Those are all for some other time. But then I had to make some difficult decision. I was a very good student. And I was extremely good in accountancy. I missed the gold medal by 1 mark in accountancy in the university. I wanted to be CA. I registered myself for CA. But within 3 months, I understood there's no way I'll complete my CA because it will take 3.5 years. And 3.5 years, I cannot make my mother to work like this. And I can't go to the city market and I work and go to the CA, do my, articleship and other things. So facts and data prevailed in front of me. I said, the heart says I should become a CA. Facts and data said that you don't have a economic ability to become a CA. With a lot of difficulty, I said I will not become a CA. Why? Facts and data told me something different. Heart is different. Then anyway, I applied for a few jobs. Immediately I got 2 jobs. One as a probationary officer of Bank of Baroda. Other one is the management trainee for HL. I just picked up the management trainee for HL and just started working management trainee for HL. Those days, all India, there were about 24,000 applications. Only 19 got selected. I was one of the 19. So it had a lot of prestige. But when I was when I was working, I was very good, got promotions, superseding so many people, so on and so forth. I almost finished ICB except one group. Then I wanted to change. I started going and attending the interview. I tell you, I had no way of overcoming this CA breeds. CAs were, in my time, those days, were always treated better than ICB. Even today, it is a fact, and rightfully so. So another reality struck me. I said, what do I do now? I said, look, I can't do CA, forget about it. I said, I'm on the verge of finishing it, but I have to do my MBA. I took a very hard decision of quitting my job and going for MBA, 1-year program. Now, here's the thing. I was so clear about my future. I said that whatever it takes, I'm willing to invest that. And one day I was in Bangalore. I talked to my mother. At that time, I used to work in Nasik, in HL Nasik. I told these are situations. I had to do my MBA. My mother told me one thing, just go and do whatever you want to do it. And if I have to suffer another 1 year, be it so, don't worry about me. Just go and do. And then I got my MBA admission. I submitted my resignation. Everybody called me a fool. HL was the most secure job. By that time, I was already promoted. I was a deputy manager. And said, how the hell on the earth you want to go and do a CA? MBA. It's a stupid thing. And plus the risk, you may not get a job. I said, look, I will take that risk. The risk and the benefit, when I weighed, what is the worst case? The worst case is that I would have finished my ICAA. I'm left with only one do. One job is always assured in my life. Okay? All that I will lose is a 1 year salary plus my investment of around 25,000 rupees. That's all. 25,000 those days was a big money. I'm talking about my monthly salary used to be about 2,000 rupees, 2,200 rupees. Okay. So this is how the facts and data came, but the personal benefits in my mind overweighed whatever the risk which was associated with it. So I went ahead. I joined Aisha, great company, I must personally tell you, because many of you are going to make your career choices now. This is one item I have to say quickly. By that time, I was supposed to get married to my current wife. And in Bangalore, I took her for a lunch. I told her about 4 jobs. And my days, They used to say, any number of jobs you get it in the campus interview. Okay, I got 4 jobs. And I won't say the names of the companies which I rejected. And I told her the first company is Bangalore. She was very happy because I'm a Bangalore boy. She was in Bangalore. I said, I'm not taking it. Second job, Goa. She was overexcited. I said, I'm not taking. What she thought, I'm discussing with her to take a decision. I was sitting there to inform my decision. So there was a bit amount of the problem. This was a confusion. Then third job, I said, is in Delhi. She was not very excited, but it was a highest paying job. I said, I'm not taking it. Fourth job, it is in Alwar, is a head of finance and IT at a plant level in Alwar. For the entire plant, I'm going to be the head of finance and IT. The job content is going to be so rich, even though it is the lowest paying job. I think this is a choice I'm making. The poor girl, I tell you, on that day, she could not finish her lunch. And she lost all her things because she has never seen any city outside Bangalore and Mysore. Finally, she said, I have to get married to you. You decide what you want to do with her. And she came with me to her. But I'll tell you, that decision was the most important decision I made in my life. Why I made it, I'll tell you. What you invest in it is the job content. What content job you do will stay with you for a very long period of time. Don't get stuck with the one single job content. Worst thing to do. Second thing is that don't get stuck with your one city. There's a still more worst crime you do it in a personal life. Okay? And experience different jobs, different cities, same company, move around. Experience different bosses. Bosses preach you many things. Some may be bad, but majority of the bosses, there's a good reason why they are there. Learn a lot from the different bosses. Don't stick with the same boss. Out of sight 3 years. Either he should change or you should change. Okay. I think that was the best thing which has happened to me. For a very important reason, I have to leave that job for my mother's health reason. Came to Bangalore and I became a CFO at the very young age of 35 for a very well-known multinational then called a SmithKline Beecham, now called a GlaxoSmithKline. And so I was working. Later, I joined British Gas as a BG Group and became a managing director for Gujarat Gas. These durations during this, some choices I had to make. And one good thing which happened is that I get a variety of exposure in the job. Some are there, my companies, they were London based and they were after me to go to London, to take a break and go to London for a job, for a posting. Once myself and my wife Sudha, we went to London. Almost we are supposed to have gone for choosing the accommodation. Then it was a November end, cold winter. Then I could see Sudha was not looking that happy. Neither I was looking very enthusiastic. Something happened, we did something, came back. I used to have a very good mentor. He just died last year, Mr. Harimohan Khanna. Every decision, my career decision, ever since I came in contact with him in 1990, I used to take him into confidence. I was sitting with, once I went to Bangalore. So at that time, I was in Bangalore. I just talked to him. And he told me something. He listened to my entire story and he knew my entire life story. He said, I think you should create your purpose statement in life. Let your purpose guide you what you want to do in life. That weekend, I wrote a purpose statement in my life that guided me my entire life. That purpose statement is, I will make a positive difference to the lives of the people around me and in the society. That is what the purpose statement I wrote. Then the next question came, going to London, how much it will meet my purpose statement. There was no, not even in the vicinity it was standing. I just rejected the job. Okay. Moved on in the life, big things have happened. But that become the cornerstone to decide what kind of choices you make in life. So what I urge you is that at some point of time, don't write very early. At some point of time, somewhere when you are there in 30, mid-30s, you write a purpose statement of your life. It is very, very important. I think went on. Now I want to tell you one or two decisions. I'm acutely aware of it. In another 5 minutes, I have to close my talk. One couple of decisions, I'll tell you at least one of them, then I will pick it up later. It was the time in the Gujarat Gas. And before I went as a managing director, it was at that time it was owned by British Gas. A decision was made. We were the first one in the country to set up the CNG stations. A decision was made to shut the CNG stations. We had 2 CNG stations in Surat. I said, I went to Surat. I visited Surat a couple of times. And I visited the vibrancy of that city. And Ankleshwar, Bharuch, all the places. I said, this looks crazy not to grow this CNG business. At the same time, company was in a serious financial problem. It was a downward path. Our margins were going down, and CNG is a high margin business. One of the logic on which that whole business case was built was that unless you have got a Supreme Court decision and the regulatory process which forces people to adopt the CNG, it is not possible commercial way to make the CNG success. Simple. I had to contest this belief itself. And I started looking at the market. I started looking at the number of four-wheelers which was there, a lot of facts and data. I put a different 2 fellows. I said, that's a data like I want. We did a lot of analysis. I went to my boss and I said, look, don't mistake me. You are a party for this decision. You made a wrong decision. I think that we should pursue with this one. In fact, we should invest. Shanta, nowhere in India, in Delhi and Mumbai, it only succeeded because of the regulatory intervention and Supreme Court decision. How do you think that it will succeed in Surat? Then I had to put a different spin. I said, see, anyway, our profit has gone down in 1 year. Our profit at that time, I still remember, 52 crores. All that I want is at 10 crores. I'll be the first one if it does not succeed. I'll be the first one to come and tell you that I think that we should shut it. But my boss had a deep faith in me. We both had worked for a couple of other things. We did one major acquisition together. It was a $450 million acquisition, and I was heading that acquisition. So he had a huge personal respect for me. So I said, okay, go ahead. But it was a listed company. I had to go to the board. I had to convince the board. Then Chairman Asmukh Shai just died about 2 months back. He also had a personal, tick for me. And he said, Shanta, go ahead. Later, you come and tell board that ratification process, don't wait for another 2 months. Went ahead. But what is important is that we put lots of facts and data were there. That was the first initiative in which, through a pure marketing, we had to convince the customer to switch to the CNG. Then made a lot of economics for the consumer, how it will work, what segment of the consumer will switch, who will not switch. Then run a maximum amount of campaigns in the colony by colony, housing colonies were ran. It became a big success. As we speak today, Gujarat Gas has got more than 500 CNG stations. They are India's largest CNG station company. And today their valuation is around 42,000 crores, 48,000 crores recent valuation. And almost 40% of their margin comes from CNG business. So what I'm saying is that sometimes facts and data is very important, but your equity also matters a lot. You have to build the equity to make your boss to reverse his own decision. Okay. I think the credibility of you also matters quite a lot. But having done that, I'll tell you, we did quite a lot of work. There's a some other time discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I will stop it there. My time has ended. Over to the Q&A.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shanta. It was wonderful to listen to all the, life points that you had and the decisions, the dilemmas that you faced, and the complexity of those. and what guided you to take those decisions. I think one point that struck with me was at times it is about you taking the decisions, and at times it is the others taking the decision for you. And how your equity, like you said, you know, and the positive forces that you attract from the universe, given the kind of person you are, you know, that also influences a lot your decisions and choices, and therefore your quality of life. So it's okay with people like your mother and wife, of course, who have a relationship, but we've also heard this beautiful story of your of the person who you were reporting to in your childhood, picking up the sacks, and the way he honored your honesty and helped you move forward in life. So that really explains, because you were so honest there yourself, and that must have touched his heart to help you and support you. So can you talk a little bit more about the value system and the character piece of it, which enables good decisions to come in your life, or good things to happen to you in your life?
Yeah, I think you know that story, but I think I would like to build on it. One decision I had to make it. That was regarding employee benefit. You know, every typical thing is that any company, large companies, when you go and they say that if, unfortunately, if something happens to the employee through a group insurance scheme, they'll pay you, say, 3 years salary to the family left behind. 2 years salary, 3 years salary, some number of years salary. This came in front of me. Then I said, look, let's do one thing. Let's take it to the management committee. Let's have a broader discussion. And this individual came, my HR head, and he told me that at that time, our company was a JV of 3 companies. Here are 3 companies. Here are everybody's policy, and will be more or less in alignment, everybody's policy. I said, okay, I'll touch upon the value system when I tell the story. I said, that's fine. Let's discuss in the management committee meeting. Every Monday morning, we used to have 2 hours. Coming Monday morning, let's discuss. So this came up. I asked the larger opinion. What do you people think about it? So everybody said, oh, in my previous company also, it used to be like this, like that, some little bit variation here and there. I said, let each one of us get into the shoes of the lowest employee of our company. If that employee dies, maximum impact is on that employee. By that time, we had some facts and statistics. Some of our people who were at the field level, because of the accident, they had died. I said that if you pay 3 years salary, most of the poor fellows, their annual salary those days used to be roughly about 2 lakh rupees, 2 to 2.5 lakh rupees. You pay 6 to 7.5 lakh rupees. I said, me as a CEO of this company, if I die, you pay me anywhere around 10 crores to my family. The question is this, whose life is at a far more difficult level to the family when they die? That technician who is on the field, that field engineer who is on the field, for me. Even if you don't give me 1 paisa to my family will be still, they don't need that money. How many of you think that you need so much of money compared to those fellows? Everybody started thinking. And finally, we broke. I could sense the emotion there. I said, let's break now. Let's have a cup of coffee. We come back after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes break. Because you need to give some time that break, otherwise emotion burst. So went around, had a coffee, gave you whatever it is. Sometimes sane mind start working. We came back. 2 people picked up the thread of conversation. They said, Shanta, there is a merit. I think the people below, it is unfair to give them only 7-8 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees. We had a minimum 10 lakh rupees. I remember it. And that is no way enough for their life. And most of them, or at a very young age, unlike us. We need to revisit this entire thing. Okay, let's discuss. Let's revisit. What should be the minimum? Should be minimum the number of years salary, should be minimum is the bare minimum that will ensure that at least that family's hardship is taken away, at least for 10 years. At least for 10 years. What amount of debate happened? Finally, we said we fixed 25 lakhs. I remember it. Okay, 25 lakhs is a minimum compensation regardless of the number of years of service. Then we said at our level, what it should be. All our other companies are 3 years. We said 2 years is enough, Shanta. Done. The rest of the fellows, 3 years. Okay, 2 years, 3 years, minimum 25 lakhs. But then we said, little bit above level, something happens to my cluster manager who is in the field, because generally they're all on the car. Okay. No, even 3 years salary may not be enough. Okay. At that level, we took it. We kept it, I think 50, 60 lakhs, something like that we kept at the different levels. Just went ahead. Now I am trying to tell us, later is a different issue. It created a problem in my JV companies. They came after my blood, 2 of them. And I basically said, it is my way or a highway. This is my principle. Okay, I'm not here to follow everybody's HR policy. If I follow everybody's HR policy, is a cocktail. I'm not interested in this. Finally, they could not run over of me and kept quiet.
True.
Now, what I'm trying to say is that it is humane way of looking at everybody's life will determine sometime your decision-making process. But I was clear in my mind, ultimate what I want to achieve. But the process is different. The process, let this group of 12 people discuss. If it takes some time, be it so. Okay. Let them also start experience what is right, what is wrong.
Yes.
What is the human values, right and wrong things. Okay. Sometimes you have to take a time, but leave that leeway to the people. Where it came from, of course, it came from my personal background. It is not that others did not think about it, but their personal backgrounds were different.
Yes. It's important to awaken people to some decisions and some realities. I think a related question here is from MR Rajaram. I can see some questions being posted now in the chat box. I will take that from the audience. So MR Rajaram is asking, you are one among those very few business leaders who have absolute synergy with their thoughts, words expressed and action taken. Practicing truthfulness in corporate world is a challenge. What is your view?
I think, see, I found something. The leaders who do not practice truthfulness in their decision-making process and the decisions they make generally lose their credibility. Trust me, in this world, if you have lost credibility, you lost everything. I know CEOs' life, most of the CEOs, they get sacked. 50% of them get sacked. Is the data in less than 3 years of their career. Almost 80% of them, they change their job in less than 5 years in their job as a CEO. The reason is that they command an enormous amount of the force. Finally, they decide somewhere else they move on. If I see most of them, it is not because of their competency, they lose. Most of them are competent. They lose because their credibility is a huge question mark. If you're not truthful, your credibility becomes a question mark. It doesn't matter, you make a suboptimal decision sometimes. You may make a very dictatorial decisions at times. I'm capable of making dictatorial decisions. I can tell you personally. But nobody questions my truthfulness and the commitment to the cause.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think that is important.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Very, very well said. Yes. I think trust is the biggest equity we all have.
Yeah.
So there is another question from, I think, Narayan. He says, one of the biggest impediments to making good decisions are biases, known or unknown. Do you have any advice for how to account for our biases when we take decisions?
I think you have a point. We do have biases. We all have biases. I think there are 2 ways I used to take care of my biases. First thing is that if there are decisions which I'm making, which I feel which are touching human beings, I always go and ask another one or two. If it is a negative decisions, if it is going to be difficult decisions for other fellow, invariably I ask at least two people. These are situations, do you suggest, am I right or am I wrong? You'll be surprised, 30-40% of the time I have to revise my decision. Either I have to reduce the impact of the decision or sometimes I have to reverse the decision. What is I think is important is that, especially when you make a decision about the people, because all leaders make a decision about the people, it is important you consult someone else also when you make a negative decision. I think that our own biases at times play a big role. There's no doubt at all.
Absolutely.
On that one. Yeah, that's the way I used to reduce. But if you're making a big decisions, there is one process. I urge you to go through that process. It's called the devil's advocacy. What to do is simple. You have a decision to make, and a decision comes. Typically, what to do is that you tell the people, no, give me a choices to make decision. Don't put only one decision in front of. Sometimes people will come out with their choices. Sometimes they don't come. But there are some difficult decisions which you have to face. Ideally, I'll tell you what you should do is that you create what is called the devil's advocacy group. Here a decision we are going to make. Tell us, you as an opponent, why do you think this decision is useless, is bad decision? Pick a hole in this decision based on facts and data, based on the process also if need be. Sometimes that will take 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, be it so. If you have a time, you'll be surprised how much that decision becomes rich in the process. I will not be able to tell one incident. Okay. We had a very major issue. Our company's, the company in which I was the CEO, if a competing forces were doing something, if they succeeded, that business viability would have collapsed. So I said, look, this is a very serious one. Then obviously that everybody says, you do this, you do that, you do this, go to court, give, very typical, run of the mill discussions. I said, no, that's not the way we'll run. Let's constitute two groups. One group, what decision you propose to protect our company interest? Other group, how do you behave as an opponent party? Because for everything which you do, opponent will react. What will you do as an opponent to make my company a failure in every move we make? Let's debate this. And you will be surprised. Every week we used to sit. There are times twice a week we were sitting. 3 months long process which went on. Then of course we did a series of moves to protect ourselves. Series of moves, not one, series of moves. But the devil's advocates kept on saying, oh, you do that, other fellow will do this. Then you need to protect against that. Okay. I think this is called the devil's advocacy process. This process is very valuable. I learned it during my London Business School days.
Yeah.
And my urge is that you people follow it. It will be very helpful when you rise at the higher level. Yeah.
Very interesting strategy, I must say. Devil's advocate. And of course, I mean, we all know we have conscious as well as subconscious biases. It also helps to understand ourselves, introspect and face ourselves with courage and honesty to understand, what biases we could carry and have a systematic process to overcome them in the long run also. So self-work and self-leadership that we talk about is really important. Indranil Chatterjee is also asking one question. He says, how important is the gut feeling while making a decision?
Gut feeling. I have a word called the leap of faith for that, more than the gut feeling.
Okay.
I think the first thing is that you need to have a lot of facts and data. Without having a facts and data, don't get into a gut feel. because you're likely to be taken through a huge cliff. You'll fall off very fast.
Mhm.
I will give one real decision I had to make. It is a gut feel. What happened was that in one of the company where I was involved with it, I was the CEO. We used to procure one product, which was annual procurement values to be around 600 crore. And almost 80% of that was procured from Chinese sources. Okay. But I can't tell you the product and all because that company which is manufacturing it, it is a listed company, it may have an impact. So Chinese products were bad. Quality was usually suspect, and they don't have a local servicing, they don't have a field level people. I mean, it was bad, but they were cheap. They were cheap by 30%. Then, of course, typically we discussed where do we go forward here? Almost 1.5 months discussion. And at the field level, my customers were suffering. We had so much of backup material. Oh, it failed, another backup. Now, this was become a way of life in the field. Then I said, look, this is not going to work. And the typical thing is that we have 3 guys in India. Let us split among 3 fellows, but their cost is going to be 30-35% more. And so that's it. I said, why 3? Why not 1? Typical discussion, oh, 1 is too much. You are at the mercy of somebody. And that somebody, or the moment he believes you are the only one, he will take you for a ride. Then, it is a path of no return. I used to tell him, listen, you got married to your wife. When you get married, do you think that I have to have 2 options, 3 options in front of me? You never thought, right? Why can't you have the same leap of faith with your partner? And by chance, if a return path has to be taken, it is so much hurting to our partner more than you. But anyway, I said, listen here, aage dekh lenge kya hoga. I called the managing director of that company and I told him this is what it is. He said, sir, I want to come and meet you. He came and met me and I told him, I'm willing to give you as a single party, single source order, almost 600 crores a year. And what I want from you is this, a commitment on the quality and the commitment and the service at the field level. He said, he also knows his price point and the Chinese price point. He said, sir, how much premium you are willing to pay for the Chinese product? I said, anywhere around 10 to 12% premium I'm willing to pay. As on today is 35%. With a volume, we should be able to get and reduce the price. And I said, I'm giving a word of mouth. I cannot, if I have to give it in writing, I have to go to the board and take their approval. It is a long process. You have to take my word of mouth. You are going to be a single party. At least minimum 3 years will not go anywhere. He said, sir, your word of mouth is more than enough. I'll do it back to you. He went. After 2 days, he called me up and he said, I need 7% premium. That is more than enough. But I have to put up a dedicated plant. Without putting up a dedicated plant, I will not be able to give you a quality and the quality material which is required for you. And keep on changing the production line itself causes other problems. He put it up. And even today is a single party source for my company. Even today,
Very
I'm
nice.
talking about it,
Very
right?
nice.
That is called the leap of faith.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to take. Okay.
Nice.
After we did a single party source, other 2 more products. One was almost 150 crores we used to buy single party. Okay, 1 more large product, single party.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes there's a leap of faith you have to do it if you're a leader, but you have to have that intense understanding of the other party. If you distrust other party, you can't do this leap of faith. Yeah.
It has to be a judgment based and, fact based, like you said, very objective.
No, there are facts for
gut
there.
feeling.
I had facts. I
And
also
then the gut
decided,
feeling works.
how can he ditch me? If he ditches me, he is in a serious problem than me. I'll go back to China.
Absolutely. That's what, yes. So the gut feeling works only when you have done your homework well.
Yeah. But then still, it calls for a lot of leap of faith. Both sides. It's not a one side. Both sides.
It comes with a lot of experience also in life. I think somewhere subconsciously.
But I think, to be honest with you, chemistry matters.
Yes.
If you have a right chemistry, both sides, most of the time I'll tell you that business decisions fly. I know that one of the partner, I think, is also listening to me. We both made one of the most difficult leap of faith decision. But we succeeded. It took 2-3 years to succeed, but we succeeded.
Okay. I think I'll quickly take one or two more questions because we're kind of on time, but then I'm sure the student panelists also would want to ask a few things. But there is one interesting question from Asokan. Maybe we can quickly answer that and then move on to the student panelists for
what is the question?
It says you would have taken, yes, from Asokan. It says you would have taken many innovative and path-breaking decisions. Not all those decisions turn out to be right and future-proof. Sometimes you realize that it's not good to continue with it. What process did you follow to withdraw any decision which you were passionate about? I think it's also a lot about learning from your wrong decisions, or how to whether to stick on to them or to kind of withdraw at that time.
Yeah, I have to tell you that one of the most difficult one. It really made me feel bad. I was actively involved in buyout of a company, and it was a 9-month or 1 year painstaking process we went through. And there was a investment banker who was involved from our side. I also used to have a direct conversation, so many things. We were almost done with the price, then go for a due diligence, technical due diligence and financial due diligence. But other party came back and said they are calling off the deal. And when I was sitting with him and I said, it's sad you are calling off the deal, but still I want to understand why this deal is called off. Then he said, look, the kind of price you people have offered, I convinced my people, I convinced my board. They said yes to go ahead, but they had a rethought. They said that you basically looking at the kind of investment we made and the rate of return you are willing to give. That rate of return is more than what would have got it from our investment, which we understand. But we believe the alternative value is far higher. And our people feel, our board feels that even if we lose value, it doesn't matter at all. Let's go ahead and figure out the alternative value. And for that, it takes a time. And we'll call it off. Whatever the right time, we'll figure it out our value. I was crestfallen. And I was so crestfallen. My boss told me, Shanta, you've taken to your heart. Just these things do happen. Just move on in life. For the next 2-3 months, I'll tell you that I was just terrible. The biggest mistake I made in that deal that taught me a lot. I have not recognized what value I am getting. Rather, I am only calculating what value my seller is getting it. It's a fundamental flaw in my thinking. The right way should have been, later on I did it, I succeeded a couple of other places, but not in buying out at all, is you calculate the total value at stake. For him, when he sells, what is the value? For me, when I buy, for me, what is the value? That is a gap which is there. Trade that gap to the other fellow. Let other fellow be in a position of saying no when you have got so much of value. I let go so much of value because of this stupid stinginess of calculating how much he is getting it rather than thinking how much I am getting it.
How much you are getting. Yes.
Absolute stupidness I made. That taught me a big lesson. I'll tell you, if I had succeeded in that deal, one of the company for which I was getting it, that company would have been at a different level today. Even today, it is at a very good level, but it would have been at a far different level. That one strategic blunder I made, even today I regret. I regret like anything. Afterwards, I switched my entire thing. Learning process is that find the value on table, share.
Yes. Have a win-win situation. I think they always say that. Having a win-win situation always is a good strategy where everybody wins. Do the students have something to ask, or I'm sure a lot of questions got asked from the audience themselves. I'm not sure if you had something else on mind which went unanswered. Then maybe you can do that. Anything from your side?
Yeah, I would like to ask a small question. So you talked about the importance of heart in making a decision. Like, not everything is about data and facts, and you need to involve some emotions into it. So my question is, to what extent we make sure that it is not, emotions are not letting us cloud our decisions and not biasing our decisions in some way or the other.
I'll give you a decision where I had to retrench employees and the decision where I refused to retrench employees. Okay. So there was a company where I went as a CEO. The company was in a downturn. There were a lot of issues. The first thing we said is that, look, we have to reduce cost. And one of my board members told me, Shanta, I discussed with him what I want to do for this company. He told me that first thing is that do whatever the bad thing you have to do it. Then you start, and then onwards you start doing the good things. So he said, go ahead, if you have to retrench people, do it. And within a very short time of me being there, within the 2 months of me being there, I had to retrench some people. Very difficult decision from the background I came from. But I had to do that. Otherwise, that cost line was not at an acceptable level. Facts and data was there. Everything was there. I had to do that. And the employees, when I used to go to plant and the places, they used to look at me, there's the only question bombarded me. 3 months, I did not answer. After everything is done, I said that one, retrenchment has stopped. No more retrenchment. Another situations I was faced with. I'm an accumulator of people. All that I do is that I keep on looking for the person. If I good quality people, I go after them. You don't know how badly I go after good quality people. There was one individual who was refusing to join me. 2 years I chased him. And finally, one day he said that he will join me. Okay, till the time I was in that company, till my retirement, he was there. And that's what I am. I accumulated a lot of good quality people. Then a stage came, I said, look, accumulation to theek hai, but I know that when I have structurally, I have an imbalance. I also know that I have the way in which some people are poorly paid for that job. Some people are not so well paid. All these issues were there. I recognized after 2 years. But initially, if I did all this thing, I would not have got the good quality people. 2 years, then we did the exercise. That's called the Hayes scoring and all, which happens, you people know it. We did the exercise. Then we said who should be at what level, salary level, all kind of things. And some people, we had an excess number of people also, about 10% of the excess number. Typical thing. I only got it done. I only declared it. The problem, sometimes I'll tell you what happened, you should not declare something to the board. I only declared, I said, this is all done. I have this extra strength, but over the period of time, it all will be done away with it. No, get rid now. I mean, extra people. What is the cost of that extra? All discussion. I said, look, I had to call one individual. I told him, you may say anything, you may maneuver anything. This is not going to happen. Let me just tell you. I have a very simple philosophy. 10% is a natural attrition in my company. All that is required is that in 1 year time, everybody will be in the same, they all would have been accommodated. The cost I would have lost for these people is that the 6-month average cost I would have lost. I made a decision to bring them into this company and they joined this company in a good faith. Last thing we do is to sack around people. We are not at that kind of the cost level, cost pressure, profit pressure. We have to sack people. I need this company to grow. But it was a very difficult conversations. Then another time, another person picked me up, very important director. He still remember use the word. You have to do it. What is that? It's like a hot knife on a butter. So smoothly it should get over and you have to move on in life. I said, how do I run a hot knife on a butter on the people's life? I said, no way. I'll tell you that, no way it happened. Finally, at the end of 1 year, one fellow was excess after reorganizing everything. Then I gave him a 6 month. I said, another 6 months, you are an excess fellow. You are a good fellow. You search another job. Otherwise, 6 months garden leave. He said, sir, don't worry. He moved on. He got another job. He moved on. And he's in a very good job. Very good job he is in. Everything worked out well. So what I'm trying to say is that even these difficult decisions and all have to be made depending upon the business call. In the first case, I went ahead. It's a business call. In the second ahead, I refused to go ahead. Why? It would have created so much of fear in the company. And we worked so hard to build the morale of the people and the employee engagement programs. 2-3 years of hard investment. Everything would have been written off through this one single process. I was unwilling to do that. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you so much. I know we want to just go on listening to you, and there's so many other questions on everybody's minds. Probably 1 hour was not enough, and we'll have to we'll request to bring you back in some other time again, because it was such an interesting conversation here. Understanding real life situations from you and real life examples from you on how you dealt with them and what kind of decisions you took, what strategies you made, and how it is just a question of situation at times. It's the same thing may not work in every situation. One size fits all does not work. It depends on what you're facing, and when there's a conflict of the brain and the heart, as they say, which one should win, why and how, and going one step forward from there. In fact, when there's a conflict with your own soul consciousness, I think that is what should really win over. Your purpose statement, like you said, in life is very, very important, where when you're dealing with people's lives, how you make sure that you add value, you do not hurt people around you, others, and at the same time make objective decisions, which is in the larger interest of the entire organization. It was also very nice to learn about some new strategies from you, Shanta, about like the devil advocacy and the other things that you talked about. Very interesting ways and tools which probably no other textbook teaches us, which we learn only from real well accomplished leaders like you who have faced these situations in life. So again, many thanks to you. Much gratitude from all of us from Soil for investing your time and making this whole topic so vibrant and come alive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is my pleasure. I really always enjoy talking to the youngsters. Right. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. My pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
See you. Have a good day. All wish you all very safety at home and good health.
Thank you. And make good decisions in life.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.